Hi, today we're going to talk about the Ceylon Stitch. This is the Ceylon Stitch. It's the same stitch through this whole thing. Essentially, in doing the Ceylon Stitch, you are moving the thread the way it would move if you were knitting, and that's why it looks like knitting, but there's no knitting involved. I have a couple other examples here that I want to show you. This one right here is also the Ceylon Stitch, and I have my rows here close enough together that it looks a little bit like that knitting, except for this top row up here where you can see how it starts. But I thought that was important to show you how it starts, because it starts by going, you take the thread up through number 2 and back down through number 1, and then up through number 3 and back down through number 2, up through number 4, back down through number 3. And that's what we'll be doing as we start. So I wanted to show that. But the biggest reason I wanted to show you this one is, see how these kind of knitting rows, they have a little bit of a gap between them, but not a huge gap. And then I want to show you this one in contrast right here. This one it's about the same size as the other one, but the other one had 7 rows across it, or columns across it, and this one only has 5. And see how the gaps in between are a lot bigger? It kind of looks like you put on a sweater that was a little bit too small for you, and it stretched out so that you could see the lines in between the columns. So when you are doing this one, you need to make sure that you've got a tight enough back stitch up here that you'll have enough room, even when it gets down here in the part that's a little bit fatter, that you don't have too much of a gap in there. And really the only way to do that is just to, well, let's see, it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 back stitches along here, so that would actually mean 13, because you have to go in and out in number 1 and out, or in number 2 out number 1. So 13 little back stitches, so they're pretty tiny there. Along here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, I've only got 10 across there. And you can see, if you look a little bit closer at that one is almost stretched out a little bit more than these are here. And now that as you weave them, they're pretty forgiving. And so if instead of having 13 here, you had 11 here or so, it probably wouldn't make a huge difference, but it might in some of the places you might be able to see kind of that in-between line. So that's the first thing, is make sure you've got enough stitches before you start. So like I said, it starts with a back stitch. We're going to do it right here. I didn't, again, do the back stitch everywhere. I just did it up the sides and across the top so that you could see it. And I'm going to use a thin yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn, but I wanted something thicker so I could show you. Okay, so you want to come out on the side. And again, I think the back stitches on the side are great to hide where you're coming in and going out. And this stitch, you can go left to right and then right to left. And I've done that before, but I don't like the look of it as much. Let's see on these. Okay, so if you look at the back side of this one, you can see that on the orange ones, I went left to right, right to left, and that's why there's nothing across the back where I cut across. But once I changed color, then I was cutting across. And let me see if I can show you the difference. If I zoom in a little bit, if it will focus enough, you can see. See how these other colors, everything is even and it always looks the same way, where this middle row of orange is going back the other way. And because they're zipping back and forth as I make them, they don't quite look the same, because sometimes this side is in front and sometimes this side is in front. And so I really think it looks best if you always go the same direction. It doesn't matter whether it's right to left or left to right, but always go the same direction. Okay, so we go out through number 2. And then back in through number 1, and we'll keep that on top. Now you're not pulling these tight because you're looking to make those loops out. And this one is going to be a little bit bigger than what you'll have. Your stitches will be closer, but I need you to be able to see it. So don't pull it too tight. I'm looking for the end of the yarn to stay in about that same spot all the way along. Back through number 2. I kind of want to make a baseline there for the next time we go around that's about in the same place. Out through number 4, and back in through number 3. That one's a little longer, so I'll pull it a little more snug. Out through the next one. Can't remember what number we're on, but it won't matter. You just need to know the next one. Back in on this side. out out through this one, back in through this side, and then we're going to hide it out here underneath our back stitch edge. Okay, now remember, we could go back through this and we do the same thing. We'll go up. You want to loop it around. There's kind of a neck of each of these loops has a neck. There's the neck on the loop right there. There's the neck on the next loop, and we're just gonna, instead of going in and out of back stitches, we're gonna wrap it around a loop. But I'm gonna tie this one off on this end. Be careful when you're tying it, you don't end up tightening the front more than you wished you would. Okay, and now I'm gonna start the next row. How far down? Well, these loops are gonna be about the same height. So about that far down. And then again, instead of going out one and in one, you'll just go through the neck from the right to the left. Okay, make sure we're getting through all of those layers of the thread, and we're doing the same thing. We're just making a loop. I think I need my baseline down just a little bit from there. There we go. Same thing. Pass or wrap it around the neck of that loop above it. Around the neck of the loop above it. See, it's not a complicated stitch. One of the tricks of it is getting your tension correct. Now see, I feel like I've got it too tight right there. Let's go back and look. About right there. That one will lay down about right there. Just a little bit too tight, not bad. And around that loop, or around that neck. Yeah, see how my line here, my foundation line is kind of moving up. Yeah, that loosened it just a tiny. And again, we'll go out on this side. Okay, and tie off the back. That's it. That's the stitch. That's what you do down the entire thing. Oops. Okay, now see what I did there? Oh, you didn't see it because I didn't have it forward. I pulled, when I pulled on my knot, it pulled it all the way out. So let's pull it back through where it's supposed to be and loosen those back up. See, they're kind of forgiving. When you get all through, they kind of pull on each other all together. Okay, we are going to, I want to show you what happens if you change colors. Let's change colors with something that I've already got threaded here. Let's see. It's not a yarn, but it's okay. We'll use a different color. To change colors, because remember that mitten has other color stripes in it, you just start with a different color the next time. So we're going to start with this lighter aqua, but you do the exact same thing. Again, we're wrapping it around the neck, we're working our way across the fabric from the left to the right, but when we wrap each time, we wrap right to left. Pull it a little bit more. There we go. The more you work on it, as you work down, you'll go, oh my gosh, it's starting to look like I'm knitting. Because this is actually how those loops would work if you were knitting. Well, maybe purling, I don't know. Okay, and we'll end that color. So when you can look at the sample one that I have here, you can see I went navy, and then I did 1 row of gray, 1 row of navy, 3 rows of gray, back to 1 navy, 1 gray, and then the rest of it was navy all the way along. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Just so that you can see it. It's the same thing, but I'm gonna do 1 more row. Again, we're working our way from the left side to the right side, but every time we go around the neck of the loop above us, we wrap it from the right to the left. And that's it. That is the Ceylon stitch. Now, much like the other stitch, at the end, when you get down here to where your back stitch is across the bottom, you just tack this down all the way along. Tack, 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 tack. And it will look like you have been knitting that mitten. That is the Ceylon stitch. See you next time.